I'm Becca and I'm addicted to media. This is going to be a different video for this channel. I usually focus on talking about books and other types of media like TV and video games, or at least that's what I hope to focus on in the future. But I watched two videos this week that I needed to respond to. Both of these really wonderful people were talking about productivity, and boy do I have a lot to say about the issue of productivity. So my goal for this video is to address two other videos. One is called Unproductive and Success on the channel Marlinelina, and the other one is the response video to that by Fran from Fran dalfthegrey. I just really wanted to join the discussion. I've been out of school for a while now, out of college, and I definitely have to gauge my productivity a little bit different than those who are in school. And while that can be a good thing, it can also be a bad thing. In Marlinelina's video, she talks a lot about struggling with grading yourself on a scale that is set up by someone else, i.e. school, and how that can be dangerous and how you can feel like your entire self-worth is based on grades, and how that can be detrimental to your mental health. And I agree with that, as I have also gone through that back when I was in school. But Fran brought up a really good point about how it's also dangerous to grade yourself on other scales as well, where you take into consideration all of the things that you've done in a day, and if you didn't get enough done at all, that can be really dangerous. Bringing other things into your life as far as what you would consider productivity and considering that to be your productivity is really, really harmful in some ways. This topic is really hard for me to address because I struggle with it on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not saying that I'm alone in this, because I'm sure that there's billions of people out there that struggle with feeling like they don't get enough done in a day. But I'm an extremely driven person. I'm not necessarily ambitious, but I have a lot of goals that I want to get done in an overall life way, but also throughout my normal day. I spent all of high school being extremely serious about my grades, or at least I thought I was. I wasn't a straight A student, but I tried to be every single quarter, and I had a really hard time when I didn't get all A's, which was often the truth. I was more of an A and B student. I was extremely hard on myself for that. So I would create other ways where I could succeed and feel accomplished. I was in band in high school, so if I excelled in music, I felt like at least there was something else that I could do. But I only saw music and schoolwork as worthy of my time, and it was very, very difficult when I didn't do well. In my freshman year of high school, I actually failed a class. I still look back to that time and I feel the horror, and I felt like I could no longer get into the school I wanted to get into. It turns out that I was fine, and I did end up going to the school that I wanted to, but it was just really, really hard to feel like my life was over because of one little grade. Through that process, I also learned something. I learned that some things were out of my control, especially things like grades. You can try your hardest to do the best that you can, but if you're judged by someone else, your standards are going to be different than that person's standards. Marlin talked about this in her video about how if you learned something, if you tried really, really hard, you tried your best and you learned something, that is being productive. That it is important to acknowledge our successes in that sense as well. Basically, grades are hard, but at the end of the day, those things like grades and schoolwork, they disappear eventually. You can't always be a student. At some point you grow up, you move on, you get a job, you do whatever it is in life that you end up doing, and grades aren't even important anymore. I kind of realized this after high school, but I did go on to college, and I stopped being so hard on myself when I didn't get an A and instead I got a B, or even sometimes a C, because sometimes classes are really difficult and Teachers have unrealistic expectations for how well your memory works. It's okay to not be the best, and we should stop grading ourselves on other people's successes and other people's expectations. So in college, I was all about learning as much as I could, and I saw that as productivity. I focused more on learning new skills and new information and taking all of those things and putting them together and creating something new and wonderful. And sometimes, and actually often, I found myself still putting myself down, not because of the grade that I received, but because of I didn't feel like I did my best quality work, even when it was the best that I could possibly do in that moment. I didn't have enough time to execute the project in the way that I wanted to. The next project would get better, and the next project would get better, but I still was extremely hard on myself. I wanted so much more for myself every single time, and that is really good in a creative field, because you should never stop learning and you should never give yourself a break, because if the second you do, you stop that forward momentum, you stop learning new things, you stop creating better projects, you stop progressing forward. It's also dangerous because it creates an environment where you're never happy with yourself, no matter what you're doing. So what happens when all of that stops? What happens when you can't even do that? And I want you to pay special and close attention to the words "can't even." So this is the part of the video where I'm going to talk a little bit about something that is a part of my daily life that I hate, and that is something called endometriosis. I'm not going to explain what endometriosis is, because there's thousands of videos out there that explains literally what is happening to my body right now. However, I will explain with my endometriosis, which it's different for everyone. I have difficulty with being energetic and using my energy. I'm a spoonie, and a spoonie is basically someone who has a debilitating disease that has a hard time managing their energy. And I will leave links down below in the description about both endometriosis and the spoon theory and what it means to be a spoonie. Over the years, my condition has worsened. My pain has gotten worse, my energy has gotten lower. Of course, at the end of college, it was getting really, really bad, and I, as usual, just completely ignored what my body was telling me. One of the biggest problems is that I'm just exhausted. I saw this kind of as a death sentence. Now, my body isn't degrading and it's not killing me. No, I don't have cancer. I don't have lupus. It could be so much worse. But the fact that I can't do most of the things that I love, it's like the death of my creativity. It's the death of my productivity. I really, really want to be creating things all the time, and I have new ideas all the time. And being a person that has these ideas swarming in their head and not being able to produce anything that is related to those ideas because they're too tired or I'm in just too much pain, it is so difficult. I simply just cannot work. And that in itself is horrifying to me. I hate what is happening to me. I hate it so much. And it's hard for me to accept that things that I could be doing are still out of my control, not because of external forces, but because of internal forces, because my body can't physically do those things. The worst part is I'm not even talking about productivity such as projects. I'm talking about the little things. Things such as making my bed, making food, or putting on makeup, or putting on clothing. Some days I spend my entire day in my PJs, and so many people I know would kill to do that, but I hate it. And I still expect to just be able to do these things automatically. I still add on extra expectations, like making a video or sewing or reading a book. The biggest problem with this is that all of those things aren't even just one thing. Filming a video, for example, isn't just, oh, I filmed a video today. It's not one task. It's getting dressed, it's combing your hair, it's putting on makeup, it's setting up the freaking camera, and the chair is exhausting because I know even after all of that, I still have to sit down and talk to a camera. In fact, right now, I am so freaking tired. I have to just be okay with that, because if I want to do something like this, I have to be tired, I have to be exhausted, and I have to deal with the consequences later. Now, it's not a matter of me running out of time like in college. It's a matter of me just running out of energy and not being able to do literally anything. In Marlin's video, she talks about how when she doesn't think of she's doing anything, it means stuff like going for a walk or cooking for herself. But those things to me are already doing something. So when I say not doing anything, I mean literally not doing anything, except for breathing, because that's involuntary. In fact, I spend a lot of time not reading a book, not watching TV, not going for a walk, not making food for myself to eat, not eating. And this is even more frustrating because at this point I've lowered my standards to think that productivity does include those things, just like Fran does. And it stresses me out when I don't even get those things done. And I would again like to point out that I'm using the phrase don't even. I don't even get those things done. That right there is my biggest problem. I still see productivity as this thing that has to happen. And so I think that we need to give all of ourselves a break when we literally do nothing. It's important to weigh in those tasks that we consider relaxing and not doing anything, but it's also important to recognize that sometimes you need to not even do that. Fran posed an important idea, and that is that we see the value of what we get out of that day rather than what we did that day. I think the only thing that I have to ask Fran is that what if we don't get anything out of that day? I think it's important for us to recognize that it's also okay to not get something out of the day, because sometimes we don't. As a sick person, I am at this point in my life where productivity just can't be a priority. I guess you could say, well, isn't being better, getting better, kind of productive? And I guess I could say yes, but to me, I can't prioritize it like that, because if I place importance on me getting better as productive, that's still something that's not in my control. I am not a doctor. I am not a surgeon. I personally can't really do anything to make myself better. And so therefore, I'm not being productive when I just lay there doing nothing. I make jokes to my friends and loved ones, and they're always coming from a humorous place to make people feel more comfortable with my situation and to try and make myself feel more comfortable with my situation. But the problem is that at the end of the day, they're self-deprecating in a way that's extremely dangerous. I'll give you a list of things that I have actually said as a joke. I am a piece of shit. I got dressed today and now I resemble a human being. I put on makeup today so that I can look like something more than subhuman. I have also used words to describe myself such as shitty, lazy, creature, and crappy. But the worst thing that I have used to describe myself in my mind is unproductive. I guess this is mostly just a reminder to myself, just as Marlin's video was to her future self and Fran's video is to herself, that it's okay to sleep and it's okay to meditate and it's okay to literally lay on the floor or sit on the couch and do nothing besides breathe. To both Marlin and Fran and anyone else who is struggling with not feeling productive enough, I want you to throw the scales out sometimes and just take a moment to be a person. We all have worth. And it's important to recognize that even when we don't recognize it in ourselves. So that's all I had in my notes. I still feel like there's so much more to say, but I guess that's all I can say right now. Again, this was really, really difficult for me to film, and I don't really know how to finish this video. I hope that nobody takes this as me saying that my situation is worse than anybody's else, because we all have different struggles in our lives. I just want to tell myself that it's okay to be doing and feeling all the things that you're doing / not doing or feeling right now. I'm really sorry that this was like a really downer video. I hope that this reached somebody out there who's feeling shitty or crappy or subhuman. I just wanted to see what everybody else thought in the comments down below. And I hope that you're having a really great day. Okay, bye.